Welcome back to the Mackem in the Middle podcast. This is the third episode since we were promoted from League One, and as I will keep saying, third episode as a Championship club once again. This is going to be somewhat similar to the episode we did looking back at the League One season, which has just finished. But instead of looking at that one individual season, we will be looking at our time in League One as an entirety. Is that a word? Or have I just made that up? I don't know. I'm going to go with it. That is a word, isn't it?
Yes, I'm pretty sure entirety is a word.
Yeah, well, it is now. If it wasn't before, it definitely is now. So we're going to be looking at that, looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly parts of League One, and certainly, probably more than likely, mainly ugly parts of League One. But of course, there has been some good moments, good players, good goals, and we will be talking about all of that in this episode. Not really sure where to get started first, Michael, but I suppose again, like we're going to probably talk about now, it's good to just be talking about League One in the past and just not having to worry about it again this season.
Exactly. That's what we all hope for forevermore, really. We don't want to be ever associated with this division ever again, because without being arrogant, and I don't care if people think it's arrogant, it's not. We don't belong in League One. And we're not the only club, don't get me wrong. If you look at all the clubs that are going to be there next season, Derby, Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich, Charlton, Portsmouth, Bolton, amongst countless others that don't belong in that division, that's a hard league to get out of next year, and I'm glad we're not involved in it. But goodness me, I don't know about you two, but it felt like the longer we were in League One, it felt like we were just never going to get out of it. So I am so happy that we have got out of it, and hopefully we never sink that level ever again.
Yeah. And I suppose there's one thing that has come out in the last week or so, Dan, that's probably worth a little bit of a mention. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit more once it's all kind of confirmed and a few more details get released with the takeover. I say takeover, it's not necessarily a takeover. It's obviously Charlie Methven and Stuart Donald selling the shares that they've got in the club. I think it's 39% of the club they own. The buyers obviously haven't been named yet. That's probably going to come out next week. I'd imagine you probably find out a little bit more about who they are and what their intentions are. But it's a good sign and a good way to start the season, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just a really nice feeling to be kind of on the up again, and a real sense of positivity among the fan base that hasn't been there for the past few seasons. And just on getting out of League One, it's nice to finally be able to look back at all the shenanigans and laugh, because we haven't been able to do that for quite some time. So it's nice to be able to see the funny side of things now that we're finally out of there.
Yeah, and obviously just on the, again, I'm going to use the word takeover, Michael. The promotion obviously was, a high point. It was good. Everyone enjoyed it, but there was always going to be a little bit of a kind of reluctance to be too optimistic ahead of the new season, with obviously Methven and Donald still involved. So the fact that they look to be on the way out is certainly looking more optimistic for the future.
Well, it is, because I've always not been one to say that you can't succeed with what's going on in the background, because I think there's countless examples of clubs in the past that you can succeed when things aren't necessarily great in the background. But I'm not going to kid myself here. The fact that Donald Methven need to go for us to really properly succeed, because we all know where we want to be, which is the Premier League, and that's going to be some way away. But I think that, apparently I saw somewhere that, or read somewhere, that this is like a committee sort of thing, where, say, if KLD wants to put a share forward, say put some money forward, then the others on the board have to match it, and either Donald Methven either can't do it or won't do it. So for that matter, they need to go. And for us to really properly develop as a club and properly move forward, they do need to essentially clear off and not be seen again. And that's one of the reasons why getting promoted was one of the many reasons why going up was vital, because now we can attract a lot more attention in the Championship, because we're one league below the Premier League. So yeah, it's a partial takeover, I guess you could call it, but it's nowhere near done yet. But it's only but it looks like there's hope it's going to be done within, is it 5 weeks?
5 weeks, yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, so say in a month's time, hopefully it's happened, then we can start to move forward in the Championship.
Yeah, and like I said, probably expect within the next week or so to find out who's involved. And there's one name that I certainly hope does not come up again from anyone.
Could it be a certain bearded person?
It definitely is, yeah.
I wonder.
It's like I think I said in the group chat, it would just be quite bonkers if for the record, I'm 99.9% sure he's got no involvement, but it would just be quite incredible if this whole time he was actually telling the truth.
To be fair, though, we have just come off the back of a season where we've suffered 4 heavy defeats in the 3rd tier and managed to get promoted, so you can't rule anything out, can you?
You can't. But for the sake of optimism,
Everyone's sanity.
we will ruin it out. Yeah. But anyway, we'll get straight into this. Like I said, the good part of League One, the bad part of League One, the funny part of League One, and just everything, I suppose. So many different things to talk about, so I'm just going to try and think about where we should start. I'll probably just start with the best signing we've made in League One, Michael. I'll start with you for that one.
Obviously, the signings we've made in League One have been known for not being particularly great, have they? But there have been some good ones. If I had, this is a tough one. I think ultimately there's a few that spring to mind here: Bailey Wright, Alex Pritchard, Ross Stewart, Dion Sanderson. I suppose you could argue that the majority of the best signing came from this season because this is the team that actually got promoted. But at the same time, Luke O'Nine's been involved in it. I mean, Anthony Patterson wasn't really a signing, was he? He was already at the academy. So if I had to hang my hat on anybody, it would probably have to be Ross Stewart. And I'm saying I was debating between a toss-up between him and Pritchard, and you could give it to either of them for me. But I would say Ross Stewart just because he scored, was it 26 goals across the season, including the playoffs?
Yeah.
In the season where we finally got promoted. And not just his goals, you can tell what he offers to the team when he isn't scoring goals. And just on another note, that long-term contract hopefully will get sorted soon rather than later. But for me, Ross, it's just Ross Stewart. But there's a few players you could give that accolade to.
Yeah, there is definitely a few. I think John McLaughlin's worth a mention as well. I don't think anyone's going to mention him. So
actually, that's
he's
why I'm
definitely
trying to get League One.
Yeah. Dan, best signing?
Yeah, again, like Michael, there's a real debate to be had here over who really was the best because as much as you wouldn't think it, we did sign a few really good players for the division we were in over the course of the 4 years. But I'd have to go with Pritchard, to be honest. He's been a step up in kind of technique and class from what we had at all from being in League One, and he's really shown. I know he's getting on, but he's shown really like high potential in regards to being able to play at a higher level.
He's good enough for the championship easily. Pritchard.
Yeah, I think he's one of them that could easily make the step up. So I'd have to go with Pritchard.
Yeah. Flip it on its head, Michael. Probably more you could think of for this one. For different reasons as well, I suppose. Obviously, the financial value of signings, the performance-based or lack of performance-based. There's so many different things you could put into account for this one, but the worst signing we've made in League One.
Oh my God! Now where can you start with this? There's so much. There's been so much cack you could go through. I mean, the one that I probably would. There's two that spring to mind here. I mean, again, I'm sure that either of you will let me know which ones I've forgotten. But if there's the two that spring to mind for me are Will Grigg and Callum McFadzean. Obviously, different positions for different reasons. If I had to pick McFadzean, for me, it has to be Callum McFadzean. He is probably the worst footballer I have ever seen. And to be fair to him, I'll hold him in higher regard, and that's not saying much here, but hold him in higher regard than some players, because at least I could tell he tried. He just wasn't good. Couldn't stop a cross, couldn't defend, wasn't good going forward. I think it summed it up where, and you guys might remind me of this, we drew 2-2, I think, away at Hull in the lockdown season, and that was when McFadzean got torn to shreds time after time after time after time again, repeatedly, and I think that just kind of sums it up. But yeah, so for me, McFadzean, but I'll give an honourable mention or dishonourable mention to Will Grigg for all the money we paid for him and what he should have been. Disgraceful attitude. But yeah, Callum McFadzean for me.
Yeah, a name I will also chuck in there. I mean, there's two names. Tommy Smith, I think, is one of them, if you even know who that is, which I honestly wouldn't be surprised if anyone...
I do remember him, funny enough.
At this point...
I remember him because he's
can't say I do.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think a lot of people will generally not know who Tommy Smith is, but we did sign him, and I think it might have been under Was it under Parkinson we signed him?
Yes,
Michael?
It was. We signed him. I think it was just after Bailey Wright got that injury in the COVID season. So yeah, and he didn't even play, did he?
He didn't.
So,
no,
pretty much a
he didn't.
signing, really.
And then another name is obviously Declan John, who the only time we ever saw him was when he scored a volley against us in a 6-0 defeat.
That's got to be one of the most banter moments of Sunderland.
It has to be an interesting one. But
Has to
Dan,
be. We sign him, doesn't play, and then he does something against us, and that's the first time we see him properly.
yeah, it was a mishit volley as well. It wasn't even a good one, but it went in. So anyway, Dan, worst signing we've made in League One, and why?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with McFadzean, or with Michael, that McFadzean was a terrible, terrible footballer. But in his defence, he wasn't signed to be a starting wing
I
back.
still remember his interview as well. I think it was probably the first interview he had. What was it the FA Cup or something?
I was like, so it's just the FA Cup first
Just
round,
the FA Cup, innit? Yeah, that was
Was that the one after he scored?
no. I think it was when we got knocked out by
Mansfield, wasn't it?
Mansfield. I think it was. Yeah. He had an interview after the game.
Isn't that
First, he
another
said
banter
just
moment,
the FA
by the
Cup,
way?
innit?
We get knocked out at home by Mansfield 2 seasons on the spot.
Yeah, first
We
same
sent
round as well,
McFadzean
wasn't
to
it?
do the interview.
Yeah.
He
He's
says a lot
definitely
for
no one
Wrexham.
for interviews.
Hasn't he struggled at Wrexham? He hasn't even got promoted from the National League, so I think that says
No,
a bit
he
about
didn't
quality.
really stand out in the final either. He wasn't great.
I have to say, I do somewhat have jealousy the fact that he's now mates with Ryan Reynolds. I think anyone will accept that. But yeah, in terms of football and
that'd be
ability,
pretty impressive. I still can't get my head around the fact that Ryan Reynolds and Phil Parkinson are at the same football club.
Yeah,
like two completely different personalities.
Yeah, and I'd probably argue Ryan Reynolds is probably a better manager still. I've got to say, I'm completely off topic, but I don't know if you've watched them, but some of the videos that Wrexham put out that involve Ryan Reynolds are incredible.
They come up on my TikTok page often enough, actually.
Oh, absolutely incredible. Honestly, if you haven't watched them, Michael, you absolutely need to. You could sit and watch them for hours, some of them.
To be honest, it sounds like I'm missing a tree here. So I think when I've done this, I'll just get to occupy myself and watching it. But yeah, Ryan Reynolds is cool.
Yeah, absolutely incredible in videos, honestly. Anyway, moving on from Ryan Reynolds, since that's got absolutely nothing to do with Sunderland or their time in League One. We'll move on to the next thing. Like I said, I'm just doing this off the top of my head, so I don't really know where this is going to go. But best goal we've scored in League One, Michael. It's probably a few.
What's it? Sorry, best goal scored.
Best goal we've scored, and I'm not going to let you include that diving header against Rotherham.
I think that's pretty fair. Actually, I've scored some pretty good goals, haven't we? I need to try and think because it's hard. I'm going to try and think. I need to probably watch all the goals back before I. Best goal. You might have to come back to me on this one. I'm really struggling to think because I'd need to go back through every season and pick out the goals. But because it depends what you define as best. Do you define it best as a best volley, best strike, best team goal, best build up? Try the one that comes to the top of my head. I
think it comes to your own discretion as to what you say the best goal is, because if you said what's the best goal in the Premier League, some people would maybe say the Giroud scorpion cake or whatever. But the one goal I would say in the Premier League would, if you remember, it was that Jack Wilshere goal against Norwich.
Yes, I remember, because
it wasn't a screamer, but the build-up was unbelievable. So it's kind of your own discretion as to what you say is the best goal.
Yeah. I think one that I really, really liked watching back was probably, I think, the second goal in our 5-0 win over Cheltenham, which was the moment where I think Carl Winchester puts the ball from the right-hand side and Broadhead does that backheel dummy flick, whatever it's called, dummy flick, whatever the term is, because the build-up was just great. And that was actually a symbol of, it symbolised the best of us under Lee Johnson. That was actually really well done. Actually, probably another one is, I know I'm cheating here, having a couple of options, but there's one, I think it was against Shrewsbury at the Stadium of Light in our first season, where it was 1-1. If you go and watch it back, the passing and the build-up to it was really, really good. Quick, intricate passing, and I think it was Oviedo who put a cross down the side, and Madja headed it in. It was very, very quick build-up. So, if I had to pick one, I'd probably say the second goal against Cheltenham. But again, I'll probably end up remembering them afterwards.
Yeah, there's so many, and I think is it cheating to use a cup game since it's not technically
not really. It's in the League One era.
That Max Power goal against Sheffield United is definitely up there, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it was the draw against Crewe, wasn't it, where we scored two absolute worldies? Was it Maguire and Jones? I think that Jordan Jones goal was probably that might be.
That's incredible. That's
the one I go for. Just the way.
Well. Actually,
yeah, I think just the way Jordan Jones hits it, and the fact that normally a ball curls. If a right footer hits it, it normally curls to the left, but the way it went to the right into the top corner, I think that was definitely my favourite goal since we've been in League One.
Pity he couldn't
I
do
think
that every
certainly
week.
Maguire's in that game. I think is a shout
The
as
volley
well.
as well,
Actually,
yeah.
speaking of Maguire, probably the one he scored.
You could probably name
But-
any Maguire goal, to be honest.
Yeah,
To be honest, well, another one
worldies.
I was thinking of was the goal against Portsmouth in the playoffs a few years ago.
Yeah, and what was the other goal that Maguire scored? I think it was at home from about 30 yards out. I think he won the ball back and just absolutely smashed it. Who was it against?
Oh, trying to think here. Absolutely smashed it. What was it? Definitely at home. Was it with fans in the ground or was it behind closed doors?
It was with fans in the ground. I think it might have been our first season.
First season. Hang on, because I've got I've got each season on a separate page in front of me.
I'm sure it was at home because I remember. I'm sure he won the tackle, drove forward like 10 yards or something, and just absolutely smashed it.
Southend.
25, 30 yards.
That's the one you're
Southend,
thinking
yeah.
It was the second
That's the
goal
one,
in the
yeah.
Southend game. Yeah, that was there. That's actually fair. That was this one. You notice how half the goals have got Maguire's name all over them, haven't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a good shout.
Yeah, Dan, if you had to pick one.
Do you remember not last season, the season we were promoted, the one before that, at the beginning of that?
I try not to, but yeah.
Grant Ledbetter scored a fucking banger against Doncaster from
Yes,
just outside the box. He had
I think was that the first time shot? I think it was, wasn't it? Just came across him.
And yeah, I just thought that was an incredible strike. I actually didn't think he had that in his locker.
Yeah.
But,
first time hit, wasn't it? It wasn't like he took a touch or anything. It was just the ball rolled to him and he just lashed it.
Just smashed it, and I think it won goal of the month then at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I that was a world year.
See, looking back at another result was probably when the same season, funny enough, later on when we beat Burton 3-0. But if you remember the second goal where it was a corner and then the ball came to Gooch outside the penalty box and he just leathered it and it went in off the bar. And obviously shots that always end goals that where the ball goes in off the other side of the crossbar always makes it look better, but still.
Yeah. I don't really know how you counter the best goal. I don't really think you'd say the worst goal, but I suppose you could say the funniest goal, maybe. I don't know. And I suppose the one that you go for has got to be the diving header, I think, doesn't it?
It's got to be. It's certainly the best one. Actually, I was going to say it's the best own goal I've seen in the game, but Virginie tends to take that title, doesn't he?
I think that Virginie goal was special.
Yeah, in all the wrong ways. But yeah, that diving header in the Rotherham game, I think that's. I don't know. To this day, I don't know what he was trying to do. But it was a crucial one because it kept momentum going. So I'll probably say that one. That's just the funniest one because we hadn't really, in my opinion, played great all game, and then all of a sudden, out of nothing, we've got a point. So yeah that's got to be it.
Yeah, and like I said, there's not really too many things I really can think of for that. So we'll move on from that. Next up, we'll go with the best game since we've been in League One, and I suppose this is probably on an entertainment factor. Not necessarily the best result. There's one game that comes to mind. And I suppose it depends how you look at it. If you're looking at it from a neutral point of view, I think the Coventry game is probably up there. But as a Sunderland fan, I don't think you'd really want to name that as the best game in League One. But I suppose I'll ask you for the opening one, Michael.
There's two that I'm thinking of. Because again, it depends if you mean best game from entertainment perspective or you mean best performance. I don't know if you've got. Have you got a separate category for that? Best performance.
Yeah, we'll go for it. Why not?
Okay, right, fine. So I'll say best performance for another one. Then best game, you'd probably say was the 4-2 win over Barnsley in our first season, which was we went. I think was it 3-0 up inside. Actually, hang on, let's see. I've got the thing here. Yeah, we were 3-0 up inside the first 35 minutes. Then obviously they. So McGeady, Madger, Gooch, then I think Kiefer Moore scored twice for Barnsley, and then obviously O'Nien sealed it at the end. But it was very entertaining, and you could tell there at that point why Barnsley were actually a force to be reckoned with that season. So I mean, certainly if you're just including it in the league games, and I would say, I'll probably say I have to say the 4-2 win over Barnsley from an end. I was stressed throughout it because I thought when it was 3-1 at half time, I was stressed because Barnsley would have the quality to come back and get something, but. Yeah, it was anything but boring. But in the end, it was probably one of the best games that I've probably witnessed, which doesn't granted say that much, but it still was a good game and obviously a good result.
Yeah. Dan, best game?
As much as I don't like reliving it, I have to say that Coventry game. It was just such a good game of football for neutral to watch. Back and forth. And I can't confess to having watched it recently because it just hurts my heart. But from
we'll
what
get
I can
payback
remember,
next season.
Yeah, stop off in the shipper as well.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that just a really good game. Actually, I think both White and Grigg scored that game as well, which is quite a rarity. Yeah.
You bear with me, I've been look. Yes, they did. Yes, they both did score.
Yeah. So that was a really interesting game for more than one reason. Don't know what was in the air that day in the stadium alike, but no, yeah, that was just a really good game for any neutral to watch. Like 9 goals in 90 minutes. You know, it's a great game. So that's the one I'd have to go with.
Yeah. Worst game, Michael, and again probably on a entertainment factor, and I think there's probably a couple this season that I could have said were one of the most boring games of football I've ever watched.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you look at a worst game, then obviously again it depends. If you're looking at it from an entertainment perspective, then probably one that comes to mind for me is the 0-0 draw against Bolton at home in the second season when we were. Remember, I think it was Boxing Day, wasn't it? Boxing Day 2019 with the early days of Park Yola. So when Bolton, I think, were bottom of the league, then they think they finished bottom or second bottom because of the points deductions. But the bottom team in the league came up, and then I think part they outplayed us maybe a little bit in the first half, but the rest of the game was just so dull. And then towards the end, I think what summed it up was I think Parky made a defensive substitution at the end when we needed to try and get a winner, and he just said, "Nah, we'll just take a point." So, in terms of an entertainment perspective, barely anything happened in that. It was it's like 90 minutes you never get back.
Yeah. Dan, worst game since we've been in League One?
You could pick a few from the Parky era, but
probably most.
Yeah, every single one. I'd have to go with. See, I was thinking the Portsmouth 4-0 game, but that could also go in the best category just for how hilariously awful it was and how wet it was.
Now it can, yeah.
Yeah, looking back.
There's definitely.
Actually, if you're struggling, I could throw another one in there because I'm just looking.
Yeah,
remember
please
the 0-0
do.
draw
Yeah,
season before last, the 0-0 draw at Northampton Town when we just came back from a COVID outbreak. Literally nothing happened. I think Power had one long-range effort that might have hit the post. Power had a long-range effort, but apart from that, nothing happened.
It was a long-range effort, Max Power, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But that was the only thing I can remember, actually. I don't think Northampton even went forward.
Yeah.
So to
Worst
be fair,
performance,
that wasn't
Michael.
that was early Lee Johnson. But there you go.
I still think Phil Parkinson definitely had the fair share of most boring games. Definitely most boring style of football.
What about his last game? Fleetwood 1-1, 2 goals. That was literally it.
Yeah. Oh, there's a few. You could probably go through every single game and, agree that they were boring to watch.
Being the worst.
Yeah. But moving away from the worst game, worst performance of our League One tenure, Michael.
I feel a bit sorry for Daniel here because I keep getting first options here.
You're all right.
I think there's an obvious one, and I think it's probably this season.
Really obvious one, isn't there?
You know, to be fair, you can't. I mean, the worst performance has got to be something that comes out of this season. The two that stick out for me are probably the. I'll discount Portsmouth because that was just a freakish weather day, but that was also quite hilarious looking back at it now. But but Rotherham and Bolton for me are the two that I would pick this season. But yeah, it's got to be Bolton just because I was physically there, which I think makes it a bit worse. I think you said you were there as well, weren't you? For the pleasure of watching us get spanked by Bolton, and I think they were 15th at the time.
Yeah,
it's got to be Bolton for me. His own worst result. It's because for me, it's not really the worst result in League One. It's the worst result in our history when you factor the context around it.
Yeah, I think Doncaster's up there as well. Certainly at home.
Yeah, that's a good shout. To be fair,
a lot of terrible performances. I think you could.
You should have made this like top 10 worst results. Then you would have been able to
we easily could do top 10 easily. Dan, get to pick the worst one.
That Rotherham game just kind of summed up everything about our kind of tenure in League One and how depressing it was for us as a club. Just felt we had no heart, no determination, just I don't know, no willingness to win. So I'd go with that game.
Fair enough.
What was the result in the end? Was it 3-0?
What, Rotherham?
Yeah.
5-1.
5-1 there.
5-1, was it? Jesus, even worse
Yeah,
than
we
I remember.
actually equalised in that game.
We did, yeah.
I remember
Then
that.
it all
I
went
think
downhill.
I was watching the stream and I went at the time, oh, go on, we can beat these. No, we can't. Never mind.
I think every goal came from us trying to play it off from the back as well.
Yeah,
Which was-
It came from us being stupid, didn't
they just
it? That was
bullied
made
us,
it worse.
didn't they? They just bullied us that day, yeah.
The thing is, if Rotherham scored 5 good goals, then I could maybe live
I think
with
they
it a
were
bit
all
more.
crosses
But the fact
just
is they
about, weren't
didn't.
they?
Well, every single goal was literally we gifted them. We gifted them. It was a stupid mistake. So, that's one of the reasons why I wasn't as lackadaisy about Rotherham as everyone else was. But there you go, not their problem.
Absolutely not. The last one before we move on to the last two. So I don't know what the word is for that. It's penultimate, second last. What's the word for third last? It must be a word.
The penultimate of the penultimate. I don't know.
That would be fourth last, wouldn't it?
Well, it's penultimate second last, so it would be second last. But actually, no, it doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, I've just realised what that makes no sense. Carry on.
The third last, we'll go with that. Funniest moment since we've been in League One. There's been so many. There's one that definitely comes to mind. I'll see if any of you mention it, Michael.
Funniest moment. Is it by any chance the own goal?
It isn't.
No. Okay, that's got to be up there. One of them. For me, now looking back on it, the funniest moment. I mean, there's a few. Obviously, Declan John. Pretty much every ex-player scoring against us. It seems. George Dobson having a hand against us at the Stadium of Light this season. Declan John scoring against us. Connor Wickham scoring against us for the banter. For me, the funniest moment, looking back now, I mean, I guess you could technically count. Well, it's not the funniest moment I was going to say, but the one funny moment is on Netflix when Charlie Methven is basically doing, what is it? Is it David Brent or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
The one from The Office. When he's running, and then he says like, and Goscar Chamberlain goes, it doesn't matter what you play unless you get a new PA system, and the awkward silence for about 5 seconds.
I've seen that again yesterday, actually, on Twitter.
Yeah, but for me, the funniest moment came in early in part. I know I mentioned him a lot, but Parky's days when we lost 1-0 to Gillingham in the last minute, and afterwards, I think he did an interview and basically said something along the lines of, if we'd seen it out, we would have got a point and we would have taken that before the game. And I think that sums up, not only is that hilarious looking back, but I think it just sums up our state and at the time the state of things in League One, because it was just, we'd gone from playing in the Premier League to accepting a point at Gillingham, which I don't think you need me to tell you how depressing that sounds. I'll tell you another quick funny moment before I do end up forgetting it. When Darius Charles made that comment after when Wickham beat us 1-0, he went, our house, our rules. And then a few months later, we absolutely stuffed them in our house because it's our own rules.
Of course, beat them in the playoff final, which is the biggest house of them all at Wembley.
Well, exactly. I mean, technically, they were the one you could argue that equaliser in the 3-3 stopped our automatic promotion push. So good way to settle the score for that, really.
Yeah. Dan?
It mightn't be that funny now. Obviously, the whole wee Philly Defoe saga, and Alex Neil being announced by a random bloke at a train station as well. That was quite funny. But I think just the whole kind of Jermaine Defoe situation this year is just going to be so funny looking back on it. All the hype around them signing, like a random middle-aged bald man trying to suss out every single car coming into the academy, like Steve Defoe's there running up to the window.
I'd be amazed if he hasn't got a restraining order.
The midnight announcement, everything, like something on Twitter that night was incredible. Like it was such a fun place to be.
Yeah.
And then for him to come and play barely any football and leave after 7 games, just retire.
Yeah.
Just it's unbelievable, really. Like it's
only Sunderland where that could happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Then for Alex Neil to come out afterwards and say he wasn't told beforehand, like he saw it the way the rest of us did. It's a strange situation, but we can laugh now looking back on it, I hope.
Yeah, I think the one that I would definitely look at would be the Portsmouth game. Not the rain one, the one where O'Nien gets punched by the fan. Cattermole goes to fight them. Got that
Was it that Rook Report tweet when it put? That was one of the best tweets
Yeah.
I've ever seen. Where it said, "There's a break in play as Lee Cattermole is about to fight some Portsmouth fans."
And then obviously that Portsmouth gremlin-looking creature. That was definitely one of the funniest moments, I think,
Well,
since
just
we've
because
been
of
in
all
League
the
One.
memes that have ensued from it.
I think there was a group of lads printed off masks of his face to go to an away game.
Yes,
not long
they
after
did.
that.
I remember that.
Yeah, I
now.
saw that. Yeah.
Do miss that. We should have done that for Wembley. That should be there. Someone get on a Spirit of 73. We'll get a banner with his face on it.
To buy
Done it.
Southampton fans, you should just make some nails and make some masks and send it to Southampton fans. I'm sure they'd love it.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. I think everyone would, apart from him, maybe. But anyway, moving on to the penultimate now, Michael. That is the right word to use now. Do we start with the worst or do we start with the best? I think we end on a high and start with the worst. Worst starting 11 Sunderland have had in League One. And obviously, I'll kind of let you take a position each. We'll go with a standard 4-4-2 formation because why not? And then goal, if you had to pick the worst keeper we've had in League One, Michael.
Remy Matthews, I don't think any elaboration needs to be made.
Yeah. I still find it crazy he's at Crystal Palace now. Unless he's been released this season, I'm not sure. But he was
To
definitely
be
at
fair,
Crystal
him and
Palace.
Jason Steele must have hell of agents on them because they managed to get them. I mean, I know they'll be third and fourth choice, but they managed to get them contracts at Premier League clubs. When
Yeah.
one of them helped us get relegated to League One, and then the other one was terrible in League One. So, fair play to their agents. They must have some very good ones.
Yeah. Right back, Dan.
Ooh,
I think it's probably quite a hard position to pick, to be honest. I don't, off the top of my head,
Lawrence
can't
DeBock,
remember.
was he left or right back?
He was left.
Left
Yeah.
back.
I don't think we've actually had
Yeah,
a bad right back.
like there's no one that really sticks out to me, to be honest.
I've got one, but I'll wait and see if you can figure it out.
Like I was going to say there was a season where we had to keep putting random players there because of our defensive frailties, but Luke O'Nien actually did quite a good job when he was put there. So,
Probably giving you the hardest position to pick, to be honest.
yeah.
I'll give you a hint. He's going to love you for that. The name of the players in that sentence.
Oh, Donald Love.
Yeah. Because we forget he was still part of the squad in the first season, I think.
Jesus.
Yeah, I actually thought he was just in the championship. Yeah.
No, and he said he got worse the lower we got.
He was woeful, wasn't he?
He wasn't great, was he?
No.
I think he made his Man United debut against us in the Premier League as well, didn't he? I think it was.
Yeah, and that was a game where we won. So that says a lot.
Yeah, it does. It does. Centre back, first of two, Michael.
See, a lot of people would say Jack Baldwin. I didn't think Jack Baldwin was that bad.
No, he seemed to get a lot of slander, and he
Don't
was never
get me
great.
wrong.
But
He had some very dodgy games towards the end, but I think people forget the first two. I would even go as far as say up till that Coventry game. I thought that for the most part, I thought he was very solid.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, centre back, probably Joe Lynch. Because Joe Lynch, I think for me was just had one or two good games, but didn't particularly stand out to me in any impressive way. Didn't look very solid, and I still remember I think he folded in that home game against Burton again under Parkey when we went 1-0 up. Big Edie scored a penalty, and then we conceded twice, and then Lynch just lost his head. So yeah, this is probably for me the hardest one to try and really pick. But if I had to pick a centre back, I'd say Joe Lynch. Just I think everyone else stood out a bit more than he did.
Yeah, Dan, next centre back.
Just for the sake of wanting to include this player and also another player in the squad, and they both play the same position, I'm going to shift it around a little bit and put Declan John in the middle just for this game, and just for argument's sake.
You're just putting him in for that volley against us, aren't you?
There is someone else I also want to include. I want to be included in the squad, so I'm going to stick him in the middle. And he didn't play a game for us, actually, didn't he? Not Declan John.
No, he didn't. He didn't even make the bench, I don't think.
No,
but to be fair, we do tend to shoehorn players out of position. So why not do it for this?
Yeah, exactly.
See, I'm not sure if that's cheating, but I'll let you go with it because I know who you're going to put left back. So, I mean, I say I know who you are going to put left back. It's going to go to Michael for the left back.
Yeah,
I'll let
I
you have a
just
say.
realised Michael's decision. I hope he doesn't let me down now.
Was this me for left back? Is it?
It is.
Oh, good old Callum McFadzean. It can't literally be. There's a few options. I mean, Jake Vokins, again, he was another one people said was terrible. But
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he was too bad, especially, I think
No,
the
I
first
don't
game he
think he
played, he
was either.
struggled, and I think he got better, and then obviously he never played again after that.
Yeah, I think there was the wise men say part, and obviously it's their opinion, but they had a debate about Jake Vokins and Callum McFadzean, and in my own personal opinion, it's not even a contest. McFadzean comfortably was worse than Vokins.
Yeah.
Again, which is probably the worst player. Like, that's it, period. Unless Dan's got anything to add to that.
No, absolutely not. You've nailed it.
Absolutely. Right midfield, Dan.
Right. Who do I want on one? Ooh, put me on the spot here. Michael, have you any suggestions?
I mean,
Yeah,
I would say it might be cheating, but I think you could maybe have someone like Sterling.
Because
Well,
I is Sterling, yeah.
Well, I don't know if he was technically a right midfielder, but you could put him as a winger in there. Benji Kimpioka.
I'll not have any slander on him.
Yeah, I actually didn't think he was that bad, to be honest.
He was never a good footballer, but he just
scored a goal at
liked
one
him.
point.
I'll give him this. He's got an interesting name.
He was so even he didn't know what he was going to do when he got the ball, and I think that's why I liked him. No one knew what he was going to do.
I didn't know what he was going to do, but I knew it wasn't going to be anything good, though. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of Kimpioka, but I'll take on then. We'll discount that then, because you two don't mind him.
Yeah.
Another one for winger, maybe Lewis Morgan. I think he's someone who, with the hype that came in with him, well, I'll say hype, with the expectation that came in with him.
Came from Celtic, didn't he?
Celtic. Yeah. I think I expected a lot more of him, and he didn't deliver. And I think I don't really remember him fondly for that. And you remember that interview he did? I can't remember what the YouTube channel was called, but he did it when he talked about Ian McGeady and talked about.
Yeah, I know which one you mean. I think it was with I think it was Cy Ferry.
Cy Ferry.
Yeah.
That's it. And one of the things he said was basically as good as said, I wasn't up for the playoff final because I knew I wasn't starting, and that for me straight away told me what type of attitude he had. So it's up to you if you want to take it, but Lewis Morgan's a suggestion I'd put out there.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, Lewis Morgan in at right midfield, centre midfield. Michael, I'll go to you again. A few you can pick for me, I think.
Sorry?
Quite a few you can pick for this, I think.
There's two that I can think of at the top of my head. I'll say it now. Just say the two I've got are George Dobson and Josh Gowan, or Scowen, however you want to say his name. For me, if I had to pick, I'd probably just go with Scowen because he could win the ball back, but then he could literally just give it away 2 seconds later. You just think, well, what's the point then? What's the point in winning the ball back? Never seen someone who can be so infuriating in the centre of midfield like Josh Scowen. So I'll spare Dobson. Whether he spares making this 11, I don't know, but I'd say Josh Scowen for me, unless you two disagree.
So any others you could think of, Dan?
No, I was thinking Dobson as well. Now on Scone, he actually didn't look awful against us ever when he played.
I think that's the case with anyone, to be honest.
Yeah, which is a shame, and like I don't understand how all these players.
I think George Dobson got man of the match performance when he played against us.
Yeah, I don't understand how all these players just become really good footballers playing. Like Max Powers made great strides in his career since passing backwards and sideways with us for a season. So
I quite like Max Power even when he was here. Personally, I mean, if you look at Josh Gowan, I suppose you could say he was awful against us in the playoff final, which didn't really stamp his authority on the game at all.
Yeah. Are you going to think of anyone else, Dan, or going to go with Scowen and Dobson for that?
I like that as a midfield pairing for a worst 11,
Yeah. Like that is a strong phrase to use. Left midfield, Michael?
For me, I would put Kimpioka in there. But okay, I suppose technically you could cheat. I need to think this through here. Who could you pick? Maybe Jerome Sinclair, if you want to technically switch him to a wide position.
I think he played wide a few times, to be fair.
Right, there you go. There's my option. Jerome
Sinclair. Fair enough.
If we're not including Kimpioka, then for me, Sinclair's got to be up there because he was
Sinclair.
Yeah. I just thought he just looked off the pace. He scored, what was it, 1 goal, I think? Actually, he did score a good goal against Peterborough, but otherwise I just thought, nah, not for me.
Yeah. Striker, first one, Dan. Obvious one.
The man that's on fire, Mr. Will Grigg. It was a debate between him and someone else, but I think Michael will get that other person. So, yeah, just the amount of money we spent on him. Even the clip in the documentary where they're like, "Yeah, we need to bring him in, like he'll save our season," sort of thing. And then
that is definitely probably up there with the funny moments as well. To be
yeah,
honest,
I don't think we mentioned that, but just for him to go and just be as bad as he was, and he was unfit.
His attitude stunk as well.
To be here. Yeah.
And his brother was right knob as well, wasn't
he? He just, there's no real explanation needed, I suppose. He was just a terrible footballer.
Yeah. Another striker, Michael. I might be missing someone completely obvious, but I can't think of one off the top of my head as a terrible striker.
The two that I'm thinking of.
You could argue Defoe in there, but I wouldn't.
Sorry?
You could argue Defoe.
Yeah, you could put Defoe in both teams.
You could.
Well, for me, as much as I thought Defoe was getting sharper, and I could see that he was making it. He made a difference, I think, in a couple of games. So the two I'd probably go with. What do you think? Actually, there's a few. I'd probably say either Keziah Sterling. I'd probably say either Keziah Sterling or Danny Graham.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Danny Graham definitely. I think that's the one we have to go with.
For me, the first couple of games, I thought that Danny Graham, when he came back, I thought was doing the right things, but I think you could just tell he was like a plank up front, and he just couldn't. How do you sign him? And he's even worse than the first time, or just as bad as the first time. In 2 leagues lower as well. And I know he's older, but Christ, he's not exactly. He's playing against much worse opposition. Oh, this is so Sunderland. Yeah, I think I can't argue against Danny Graham, can I?
I think that's got to be the one.
A nice prolific partnership of Sir William Grigg and Danny Graham.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be in agreement that the manager of that team is going to be Phil Parkinson.
Yeah.
Oh, Jack Ross for me.
Interesting.
That was a joke, by the way. Yeah, I think it's funny because Phil Parkinson, for demeanour, Phil Parkinson any day of the week. Jack Ross, I think, had a much better team than Parky had to work with, and really should have got us promoted.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'll let you say Parky.
Yeah. So we've got Remy Matthews, Donald Love, Declan John. Forgot the other centre half now.
Joe Lynch,
Callum McFadzean. Bloody hell, I forgot already. Josh Dobson, Josh Scowen, Lewis Morgan, Jerome Sinclair, Will Grigg, and Danny Graham.
What a team that is!
Where does
I don't think they'd survive in League One. Actually, I think
they might win the conference. To be fair,
it'll be an interesting team. That someone arrange it for a charity game or something. Testimonial.
Yeah, against
take them for 5-a-side. They probably do all right.
Yeah. Callum McFadzean testimonial. Get it organised. But we'll end on a high.
Ryan Reynolds organises it.
I'd love it. I would 100% go to that. It would sell tickets for that. But we'll end on a high, and we'll go with the best 11 we've had in League One. Probably easier, to be honest, doing this. And again, standard 4-4-2. Don't think we need to talk about the manager. I think it's a very obvious one. So we're not even going to say his name. Actually, yes, I am. Alex Neil, of course, is in there. Goalkeeper, Dan.
Oof. There's a few, just because he got us up and just because he's had such an outstanding breakout season, I have to go with Patterson.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know that's probably a controversial one.
Well, it's either him or McLaughlin for me, isn't it?
Yeah,
so you could argue either of them.
I would argue McLaughlin probably is the better, like, all-round goalkeeper, but just for I think Patterson will go on to achieve really good things in the game. So
I think the way you could put it is that McLaughlin was better in League One, but Patterson's got the potential to be much better in his career. If that makes sense.
100%. Yeah.
Right back, Michael.
Luke O'Nien for me. I know Luke O'Nien plays a few different positions, but I think his best performances by some way have been at right back, and especially in that first season as well. One of the standouts from it when it was out of it. It was his first season at a club the size of Sunderland, out of position of what he'd been used to, and he did amicably. So you know what? Yeah, Luke O'Nien. Well, unless you guys have him somewhere else in the team, but for me, right back, Luke O'Nien.
Yeah. Centre back, Dan, first one.
I want to go with Dion Sanderson for this one. I thought he was really good when he played. I think would have had a much better chance of going up that season if he wasn't injured. And yeah, I thought he brought a new kind of lease of life to our defence. He was something we hadn't seen before, like decent on the ball. He was quick, he was strong, he was young. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Deion Sanderson for my first centre back.
Yeah. Second one, Michael. I think this is obviously one name that
I
you're
was
going to
going to say,
mention.
do you even need to ask me who I'm going to pick here? But yeah, well, funny enough, actually, when I did my best 11 of League One for a laugh, actually, I had Bailey Wright, of course, is who I'm picking, and Deion Sanderson in there.
Not Ozturk.
So yeah, average.
I think that's generous, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought he was okay. There were times when he was a bit. He tried to be a bit too much WWE on a football pitch, but sometimes he was.
Usually got away with it, to be honest. But
that's
not
weird. That's not weird. But then again, the state of officials in this league, it's not surprising. But quickly on that note with Deion Sanderson, he's one of the players I'd look to sign in the summer. But yeah, Bailey Wright and Sanderson, great partnership.
Left back, Dan.
I'm gonna go with Lyndon Gooch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Don't know if he's ever played at left back.
To be fair,
that's
that's not the worst of shouts.
Yeah, I'd definitely have Oviedo in there personally, but
yeah, that's.
Honestly, I'll put Reece James in there.
I forgot about Reece James. Yeah, just see. Are we talking about when they played for us as well? Like,
yeah, I think it's got to be based on performances for Sunderland. I think.
Yeah. Like,
I only said Reece James because I don't think Oviedo stood out the way he should have done.
That's fair enough.
One, but again, it's just down to your own criteria. Sorry, Dan, go on.
No, you're all right. No, you're probably right, Josh. Yeah, Oviedo is a better footballer than Gooch, and like, yeah, maybe he didn't stand out in the way he should have, but I just think for his overall ability, he probably does deserve to be in the team.
Yeah, and I think that assist that he got in the first game of our League One tenure is probably one of the best moments we've had in League One. I think in terms of that last minute equaliser from Lyndon Gooch. I still remember that like it was yesterday. I think it was on Sky Sports that game as well, wasn't it?
It was.
Charlton
Do you know
home
what
game.
the weird thing was? That season came full circle. We went 1-0 down to Charlton, scored a winner in the last minute, and then they did the same to us in the playoff final. It ended a bit depressing, but you're right. That assist was great.
Yeah, interesting. Right midfield, Dan. No, Michael. Right midfield.
Oh, right midfield. See, with winger, there's a couple of options you could pick here. Okay, fine, screw it. I know he tended to play on the left, but can you put him in there? I was going to say McGeady. I think McGeady's got to be in this team somewhere, but I'm trying to think of right midfield here. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna cheat a bit. I'm gonna put Alex Pritchard on the right because he has played on the right before. So I'm gonna go Alex Pritchard. Just I think for the reason that Dan said when he asked about about signing of that's the best signing of League One. Just go back and listen to that bit for any explanation.
Yeah, centre midfield, Dan. First one.
I'm gonna go with Elliot Embleton. I think he's a big part of the reason we got promoted this year.
Yeah.
And I think he has the potential to be a really, really good footballer. Like he got Blackpool promoted last year, but he was a part of the squad that got another team promoted last year. And I think he'll go on to do good things in the game. I think he's another one that can make a step up into the championship. Embleton.
Yeah. Second midfielder, Michael. You see, I know a lot of people would probably say Cattermole, and for me, Cattermole would not be in there for me.
I would agree with that.
See, in the team that I put in, he was. But if I had to pick one ahead of him, Dan Neil. I can't remember a midfielder that has been able to dictate games at a young age when he hasn't played any senior football for a first season, and he doesn't look, and he didn't look out, and it's a shame really that he didn't play really a part towards the end. But when he did play, you could tell Dan Neil's just got something about him. So yeah, I'd go with Dan Neil as the other midfielder.
Yeah, left midfield, Dan.
McGeady, just a wizard on the ball.
That's why I didn't say him before, because I thought he plays on the left, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got some really important goals for us down through the years, and he made it his business to kind of stay with us to get us back up into the championship, or as long as he could while we got back up to where we belong. So just for that mentality alone, I think he deserves to be in the team. But Yeah, he's brought us a lot of good days, like that free kick. In the playoff semi-final or final?
The
Free kick. You mean the Checker Trade final?
Trade, wasn't it? Yeah.
The Checker Trade final. Yeah, sorry, playoff. No.
It was against Portsmouth either way, so I can see how you can confuse
Yeah,
them.
it was a Portsmouth free kick. Yeah, incredible goal. So I don't think you can have a best of League One 11 without having McGeady in it.
Yeah. For striker, Michael, I think there's 3 strikers you could probably pick from, but of course we can only pick 2, so it'll be interesting to see who we go for. Michael, first one.
Well, I'm going to make this hard one, Daniel. I'm going to pick Ross Stewart as one of them. That's pretty obvious.
To be fair, there's probably 4 you could pick from if you want to include the other one, but probably name 3.
I'll be interested to hear what the other 3 are, but for me, I'm assuming that Ross Stewart was one of the ones you were thinking of.
Definitely was, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. For me, again, like I said before, the goals he scored, the influence he has on the team when he isn't scoring, just no explanation.
Yeah. Dan, the last player.
You know, I feel like you could even make an argument for Charlie White just for the amount of goals he scored, but I'm not going to do that. I think
the 3. I'll tell you the 3 that I think it's out of is White, Madger, and Broadhead.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be them 3. Yeah,
I was going to go with Madger. Just that first half of that season where he was just firing us to promotion really before he was let go to Bordeaux. He was on fire. Is he still in the Premier League now?
I think he's still at Bordeaux.
Yeah, I think he was at Stoke this season, just gone on loan. I think he's just gone back to Bordeaux.
Well,
he was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think did he score on his debut for Fulham in the Premier League? I feel like he did.
I know he scored.
He scored twice at Everton, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he did.
Yeah, obviously the potential to play at a higher level and like the ability is there. Probably the same for Broadhead, but I think Broadhead's a bit older than Maja was when he was doing it. And I just think Maja was kind of a revelation at that point in his career. So
yeah,
I'd have to go with him. Yeah.
And if them 2 sides play each other, Michael, what's the score going to be? Score predictions.
Score predictions. Best 11. 5-1. I'm going to say the other one because Will Grigg would probably piss me off and just score for the hell of it. So
I mean, they're technically all ex-players, so you never know how many goals would come.
Well, yeah, that is true. To be fair, I'd say the 5-1.
Yeah, fair enough. So the best 11 is Patterson, O'Nien, Sanderson, Wright, Oviedo, Pritchard, Neil, Embleton, McGeady, Stewart, and Madger. And there's so many players that we probably missed from there. Like I say, Nathan Broadhead. You could argue Patrick Roberts, Reece James. Callum Doyle potentially would be in there. Obviously, John McLaughlin. There's so many other players that we could have included but didn't. But I'd be interested to see what other people think. So if you're just bored, tweet us it. And we'll see what other people say. But I think that is probably a fair best 11 of our time in League One. But we'll end it there. Like I said, we'll end on a high. Again, just quite an enjoyable podcast talking about time in League One as a past as opposed to the future. Like I said, that's hopeful anyway. We will be back with another podcast hopefully in the next week or next 7 to 10 days. I'm not sure when we're going to be doing it, to look ahead to the season in the Championship. Obviously contracts have still not really been sorted. We know obviously Bailey Wright, Gooch and Patrick Roberts have been offered new contracts at the club. Nothing's been agreed with them yet. We know who's left the club. Obviously the likes of Lee Burge, Ian McGeady, trying to think who else has been released. And I can't think off the top of my head, but all of that will be talked about in the next pod that we do release. Obviously looking ahead, looking at players that potentially we could be signing, possibly players that we have signed by then. Obviously there'll be more news on this supposed takeover by then, so we'll be talking about that as well. But until then, we'll see you later.
That's all, folks.